So today's video is going to talk about how we travel in the winter with all the snow. So stay tuned and we will talk to you in a minute. Today what I want to talk to you about is traveling with your dog in the winter time and some safety tips and things to keep in mind. So Dexter and I like to travel anytime that we have a moment. So if we think about the winter here in Ohio, we have about 3 months out of the year that can be cold and icy and not the best times we might think of as hitting the road with our dogs. But if I don't travel during those times, 3 months out of the year, if you take Dexter and say he lives 12 years, that's 3 years of his life that would be gone if we didn't travel and do some fun things. So for me, it's definitely worth a little extra precaution to go ahead and load Dexter up and have a daily adventure. Now, Dexter and I are not extreme travelers in the winter, meaning we are not hooking him up to a sled and going outside when it's, minus 14 degrees and that sort of thing. However, if you're really into that, I'm going to share a link below in the description of the Snow Dogs vlog, because that is a bunch of fun huskies that like to travel all the time and they like to get out there in the snow. So I want to go ahead and hook you up with them. So the first thing that we try to do when we travel anytime, especially in the winter, is we look through and check and find a good destination. What does that destination have to offer that's dog friendly? What are some things that Dexter and I can do together versus, again, leaving him in the car alone? Some places, if you do a little digging, you might actually find out that the dogs are allowed inside. So there are some little museums and some shops and things like that that do allow dogs. So I always do a little research. I like to contact the tourism boards for a little help because they tend to know their towns really well. Then the next thing I do is a little internet searching, and find a city and look for dog friendly and see what I can find. If I don't find anything specific, whether or not they allow dogs, if it's something that I think that they may allow Dexter to attend, I do email or give them a call and just ask, hey, I have a small dog, he's well behaved, can we go inside? And we get about 50-50, some yeses, some nos, but it just is another opportunity. The other place about checking a destination for Dexter and I when we travel, especially when it's really cold out, is we can look for places that have a lot of indoor pet stores around. So that can be a nice place that we can go inside to take a break from the winter and the snow. If you find the pet stores or some of the other stores, there are things that will allow the dogs to come in, go for a warm-up. Pop in, get warm, go into the car, get warm, go back to your hotel room for a little while, get warm, and then go back out. You don't have to be out in the snow the whole day. You can go a little burst of time, a little play outside, go back for a little rest, a little play outside, a little back for a rest. Take your time, enjoy everything that's surrounding you. The next thing that I do before traveling, before I go on any big road trip more than a couple hours away, is I take my car to our trusty mechanic. I let him know our plans, I let him know where we're traveling, so he can give a once over to my car, do any kind of maintenance, make sure everything's okay. Because the last thing that I want to do is break down on the road. Of course, I do have AAA just in case, and my family members are always on the speed dial too. But have them check out your car, let them know what you're doing, get everything fixed ahead of time. I would definitely recommend maybe a couple of weeks ahead of time, just in case if there is an issue, you might need to get that taken care of before you hit the road. The other part about traveling with Dexter in the car is I do have extra gear in the trunk in a little bag. Well, sometimes that changes depending on how much stuff I'm taking and how long. So his extra bag will either be a bag or a little tote, but in the winter I have extra things like, for him and I, scarves, boots, extra boots for Dexter, extra sweaters, towels, a small little first aid kit, which I actually really want to update this year. But just some things to think about if I were to break down and I can't turn on the car, how to keep each other warm, or if I do have to take Dexter and go somewhere to find a phone if I don't have cell service. I want to make sure that his feet are covered and he's got an extra sweater and all bundled up and things like that. Has some water in the trunk as well. The other thing about traveling, whether or not you travel alone or you travel with, friends or family, is you want to make sure that people know what you're doing so that you don't just disappear and no one knows where you're at. You want to make sure that you have some planned check-in times. I'll call you every couple hours when I hit the, rest stop and that sort of thing. We do tend to stop, every couple hours, to stretch our legs, especially if I'm going to be the only one driving and it's a long trip. I do, stop every couple hours so I can get out and stretch and go to the bathroom. And I don't always walk Dexter at each potty break because he tends to go in his crate and he likes to sleep, so he's usually fine. So I'll just kind of rotate when he gets to get out. But during those pit stops, I do send a little text message to my family letting them know where I'm at and that I'm safe and everything's okay, so that again they can kind of track and be aware of my surroundings. The next thing about traveling with your dog in the winter and yourself is you want to make sure that you have the proper gear. So this will always, for us anyway, it's always different depending on where we're going and what we're doing. Each adventure, I kind of have an idea what we're going to do, so I kind of know what we're going to need to pack. But some of the things in the winter, I'll just kind of go over some of Dexter's checklist as I kind of think of toes to head. So the first thing for Dexter is we do wear boots. So, Dexter does have dog boots. I do keep I have an extra pair in the trunk, but I do have more than one pair too. So if it's going to be more than just one day trip, one pair on, one pair in his luggage, and one pair in the trunk. So he's got 3 pairs of boots. So you want a nice pair of boots that do stay on. I'll give a link below on some of Dexter's boots that he's worn. The next thing is he wears a harness for walking. So I put his harness on first, and then I layer him up. So then he'll have a sweater. So he'll have his harness on and then a sweater on. We're lucky we actually have a lot of our clothing custom made for Dexter because he's really long. And so when his sweater's on, they actually made a little hole in the front chest because his leash attaches to the chest, which most sweaters and clothing on for dogs, they don't have a hole there. So when we have them made, we have a hole made so that when I put the sweater on, his little leash will pop through here, so I can hook his leash here. So he has one layer on. And then I do a second layer if it's going to be cold. Right now it's -6 degrees out in Toledo, Ohio. We're going for potty breaks. We're not going for adventures. But even on our potty breaks, he's got 2 layers on. So the sweater is his first layer, and then I will have a jacket that he can wear. And this will depend, his jacket will depend on what our adventure is. So this is just a fleece jacket that I made for Dexter. It's not very waterproof or anything like that. So if it's going to do any kind of snowing, then I'm definitely going to have something that's going to be a little more waterproof, or take multiple jackets so I can kind of change them out. Again, with the layers, it's not going to soak through to Dexter, and if it's really snowing or raining, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time outside anyway because he's not going to enjoy that. Snowflakes, fine, but if it starts to pile up, he's going to be like, all right, I'm ready to go in. So then we have our jacket. Then Dexter, if you recall, he has those long spaniel ears, which are actually trimmed up. They're normally, I think we measured one time, and they're like 10 inches long. So right now they're, instead of down to here, we actually have them up to about here. But he does have his hat, as you saw in the beginning video. So this just kind of goes over his head, keeps his neck warm, and then keeps his ears can be bunched up in here so that he doesn't step on them. Because with those long ears, what he's always doing is he's a sniffer. So he's sniffing the ground, his ears are dragging, he's stepping on them, and they fill up with snow. So big walks, anything like that, we're going to put those on. Lots of snow, we're going to put his little hat on. Every once in a while he'll shake it, and I just have to kind of readjust it, but it fits really nicely. So that's his gear. And then again, with us, same thing, layers, double socks, double long johns, pants, sweaters, jackets. It's always easy to take things off versus, needing to have something that you don't have with you. The other thing about traveling in the winter and any time is for you and your dog to stay fully hydrated. In the winter, sometimes unlike the summer, we don't feel like we have that quench of thirst. Oh, I'm so hot, I need to take a drink. So sometimes we're going to dehydrate even more, especially with all those layers. We're sweating and this is kind of evaporating into our clothing. We may not even realize it. So we need to have water just as much. Dexter, when we're out and about, he's not a big fan of drinking water. It's always been kind of a struggle. So a few years ago I figured out if I put some bone broth, some dog bone broth inside his water, it has that nice taste to it, so then he's easily lapping it up, so I have no issues keeping him hydrated. We do, again, it kind of always depends on where we're going. I have a couple of different water containers for Dexter. They're always stainless steel. I don't use plastic, and I don't use aluminum. So I keep it in a stainless steel bottle. He's looking at me right now, so he went back to sleep. So one of the things with the stainless steel is it's going to keep it cold or warm. So in the winter, it's actually kind of nice to actually warm that bone broth up a little bit. Not hot or anything, but just has a nice warm so that when he drinks it, it's more warming versus cold. So you can do that, and then this one just has actually a little spout there that you can pour it in and have him drink it. Or you can, I also carry a glass bowl too that I can pour it in and have him drink it out of that. Just again, depends on how much gear I need to have and how light I need to be on our travels. I use both Primal bone broth and my own DIY bone broth, so I'll put those links below. If you're looking for bone broth for your dog and you're looking in the human bone broth, you really want to flip over the ingredient panel as always to make sure that there's nothing toxic for your dogs. A lot of the bone broths will have onion, and that's not safe for dogs, so you want to double check that if you're buying it that's not made for dogs. And bone broth is different than broth. So I'll put the links below so you can read a little bit more. So on all the videos, if you click the little read more button, or it might just say more, it'll have more information on things that we've talked about in the video. The other part of our gear is we want to have some towels, because again, we are going to be, if we're snowy, we're going to be wet. So we want to make sure that we're dried off a lot. So Dexter's always got towels in the car. So, but I always make sure that I have them when we're traveling. I tend to like the microfiber towels a lot. They absorb pretty well, but they're really thin too. So if I need to make sure that I'm saving space, I definitely do that. So as you can see, this towel folds up pretty nice and small. And with Dexter, when he has a bath, I can get away with just one of these towels to really soak up all that water. So they are really absorbent there. And again, if you're trying to have tight space, they're nice and small for you too. The other part of us traveling is there's a couple things that we take during all of our trips. If you recall, Dexter is a senior dog. He also has a mobility issue, so he can't always walk for long. And so I always take his stroller with me. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it in the video. But he always has his doggy stroller, so it's another great way to travel with your dog. It folds up really easily. This one's really nice and light, but it gives him a break, and in the wintertime it gives him a break. He's looking at me. In the wintertime it gives them a break from being off the snow too. We went to see, it was a couple of years ago, we went to the Walleye Drop. It's a midnight festivity at New Year's Eve, and it was pretty crowded, and it was cold, and it was there all night, so he had all his layers on. They had nice little heated tents, so we actually were able to go in there and heat up. There was a couple of shops there that allowed Dexter to come into, and then we can warm up in the car as well. But so he was in the stroller. I also had a big blanket in there, so we can take a blanket too, and that kept him warm. This also zips up, so we were able to, I think I had it like this. I had another blanket over top of here because it's air, just to kind of keep him bundled up and break some of that wind going there. So stroller is always a must for us. The other thing that's new for us is we actually finally found a dog backpack that I can wear and Dexter can fit in. So this is going to be something that goes with us during all of our trips as well. It's already been in my car. I had to go get out of my car now with my stroller. But again, if the stroller can't fit, he can get into the backpack. And what I mean with the stroller can't fit is not every terrain is stroller accessible, especially in the winter when we're having all the snow and the ice and stuff. It might be a little hard to move a stroller around. It just kind of depends on, again, where you're at. But I can pop him in the backpack, put it on my back, and believe it or not, I know he's almost 30 pounds. It didn't feel that bad. So I have really high hopes for the backpack, being able to take it on some of these adventures with us. When traveling with dogs, it's always important to remember that we have to pay attention to them, their emotions, their feelings, how they might be interacting with the environment. Are they enjoying themselves? It's all about having fun and enjoying life together. So we want to make sure that you guys are having a good time. If it feels like, oh man, this is just too icy and too sleety and we're miserable, then call it a day. Say, okay, let's just go to the hotel room, or let's just go home, depending on what you're doing. and let's just watch a little TV. We'll snuggle up in bed. Maybe we'll play some tricks inside the hotel room. But it's that bonding opportunity. It's about hanging out with each other, knowing what your dog really likes to do. Dexter loves to sniff and investigate when it's not -6 degrees. Although it was -6 degrees now, he was still out there wanting to stay out a little bit longer, but mommy had to bring him inside because it was too cold. But we want to make sure that they're having fun and they're getting lots of attention and checking out new scents and smells. I think that's one of the best things about traveling with your dog, is there are things that are different. It's not the same neighborhood that they're at. And they really tend to, if they're well socialized, they really tend to have a good time with that and sniff and investigate and know that it's just the two of you or the family out there on that adventure. You know, the cell phones are off. You know, that's one of the things with doing my videos, is I have to remember that I do have to get out the camera and stuff and take a lot of pictures, but then I do tuck it away and make sure that we are connecting with each other, that it's not just about getting, you know, great video for you guys, but it's also about spending that quality time with Dexter, because life is just way too short to let, what did I say, 3 years of his life go away because we have 3 bad months, you know, a year. So I want you to make sure that when you're out there, you're really connecting with your dog and you're really paying attention to them, and, you know, throwing the snowballs up in the air and letting them catch it, or dropping a treat into the snow when you're letting them dig it up. Well, I hope that gave you some ideas on traveling with your dog in the winter. Don't forget, we do like to be social, so please feel free to comment below. I love hearing your feedback, what you want to see, what you like, what you want more of. I'd be happy to oblige, so let me know. If you liked our video, please hit the thumbs up. Dexter and I really appreciate that. You can also share the video for other people that might be traveling with their dog or want to have some tips. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the little bell icon too. That will give you the notices for every time that we post a new video. And until next time, Dexter and I will see you on the road. I wanted to thank Primavore Canine Nutrition for sponsoring our road trip. Every Wednesday, I'll be uploading new videos on all things dog friendly, so don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss any adventures.